Certain cases in movies or TV shows where you feel like a character had growth, but then that growth is undermined. If suddenly the character has regressed. In a way, I talked about this when I did a video discussing cases where I feel like a character got dumbed down. And 4 is definitely an example, I would say, of someone who had character growth, but then he regressed. You see this especially in 411 Thunder, him becoming an SNL parody of himself, getting so goofy and over the top. Aside from that, though, an example that comes to my mind is Marlin, because in Finding Nemo, he has a clear arc about learning to be a better parent, learning to not be so overprotective, learning to loosen up, be more lighthearted. We see this at the end of the movie. But then you get to Finding Dory. I really enjoy the movie, but I will say that it feels like, oh, Marlin went backwards. His character was regressed. He once again here is more grouchy, grumpy, is more overprotective again. And then when you look at Doctor Strange in the TV show What If, things started off really good. I mean, that episode in season 1 about Doctor Strange losing Christine and then going down a really dark path to try to bring her back, but then ultimately destroying his own universe. That was a fantastic episode. One of the darkest things we've ever gotten from this franchise. The kind of thing that you feel like they wouldn't be able to do in a movie, but they were able to do it in What If. And then you get the season 1 finale. And what's powerful here is that even though this version of Doctor Strange went down a very bad path, he was warned against it, but pursued this anyway. He does actually do something good in the season 1 finale. He actually teams up with, he creates the Guardians of the Multiverse along with Uatu the Watcher to stop Ultron Supreme. And ultimately, this version of Doctor Strange is tasked by the Watcher to keep guard over these two powerful beings to stop them from escaping. But then the season 2 finale of What If made a big mistake, which is undermining that growth we saw in season 1, the redemption the character got in the season 1 finale. The season 2 finale, for some reason, just undoes all that, completely regresses Strange's character. It just says, oh, okay, he's a villain again. There's no real explanation given. It's not explored at all why his character went back to being evil after he did something good at the end of season 1. It's just like, oh, he's just a bad guy again. It happened off screen. We're not really going to explain it. So all of everything you see in season 1 doesn't really matter because it's like, oh, the character is just evil. And when I did a video talking about cases where an ending of one movie is undermined in a different one, I talked about how the original trilogy characters, Han, Luke, Leia from Star Wars, felt like they got regressed in the sequel trilogy. Well, the Han is the biggest example by far, because he just goes right back to being a selfish smuggler, turns his back on the Resistance, the New Republic. Leia fails to be a father to Ben, and then ultimately is killed by his own son. Leia, it doesn't necessarily regress. That's not really the problem. The problem is that Leia's just doing the same thing, even though 30 years have passed, and so she's a good amount older. The fact that she's not part of the New Republic, she's still leading a rebellion again. It's like, seriously, how long is she going to do this for? And then Luke is absolutely regressed, I would say, because he goes from the guy who saw good in Darth Vader, the second most evil man in the galaxy, who committed horrific crimes and atrocities, who wouldn't have ever been forgiven for his actions had he lived. But Luke actually was the only one who believed in his father and thus was able to turn him back. Suddenly, we're expected to believe, just based on a few flashbacks, that, Oh, Luke would consider, even for a second, killing his own nephew, Han and Leia's son, and then Luke, in a very cold-hearted, selfish, and cowardly and immoral move, just turn his back on everyone, completely turn his back on the galaxy, and just let things become terrible again. The idea that, oh, Luke just lets darkness come back into the galaxy again. He chooses to be a selfish coward who mopes and wallows in self misery. I don't like that at all.